PlayStation believes in great games.
Hello and good day to you, my beautiful podcaster listener friends. I do hope you are well. Welcome to crossbuttonvr, a very British beginner's journey into PSVR2, a podcast for those who want to share in our newcomers' enthusiasm for the world of VR. I am your host, Laurie, and I'm joined by my fellow VR virgins, Ben and Alex. How are we today, chaps?
Very well.
Good, very good.
Yeah?
Yeah, feeling very British still.
I'm not. I'm feeling very Scottish.
Oh.
I think we're going to have to stop that. I don't think we can call it British anymore. Very British. I think Alex has got serious issues with that.
Yeah.
Welcome to Crossbutton VR, a very English beginner's journey. We need a Welshman or someone from Northern Ireland.
Sounds like the start of a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Oh, well, before we get started today with our first impressions of the PlayStation VR2, which we all now have, very exciting, I just want to remind everyone that we are part of the Crossplayers. So if you enjoy what you hear, please do check out our other podcasts. And if you don't enjoy it, well, check them out anyway, as other pods are probably far slicker than this one. If you would like to support us, please do give this podcast a sub on the service you're using and leave us a review too. Follow us on Twitter at crossbuttonvr and at the Crossplayers. Or check out thecrossplayers.com for links to all of our content and Discord. Why don't we have the Crossbutton VR, Alex? Why has everything else got the? That's just there to throw me. If anyone really wants to show the love, you can do so via patreon.com, the Crossplayers. And for £2 a month, you can help us produce the show and gain entry into our lovely WhatsApp group. Good. Okay. Well, so everyone, today I'd like to discuss then with my esteemed colleagues Alex and Ben, what are our first impressions, both of the PSVR2 hardware itself and VR gaming in general. Where should we start, chaps? Which side of those would you like to start with?
I think the hardware makes sense, doesn't it? The whole unboxing and the initial setup probably makes sense.
Well, let's. What did you make of unboxing it? Did you find it as awkward to get out of the box as I did?
Yes, I did. I've been very, I'm generally quite unimpressed with Sony's boxes this generation. Just they seem quite flimsy when you compare it to the Xbox Series X unboxing.
Sorry, I thought I was waiting for Alex to say that. I'm surprised it's that.
Yeah, but I guess maybe they're trying to reduce wastage. So I guess whatever. It's a cardboard box. Who cares? But getting to the fun part, yeah, it's very simple setup, isn't it? Take it all out, plug it in, bosh, and then it guides you through. Very, very slick, I thought.
Yeah.
The way that it guides you through the initial setup, and it's almost like instantly amazing for someone that's never done VR before to just do the whole just look around your room, and we're just going to take like a wire mesh of your entire living room.
Oh, I love that. It like turns your living room into the holodeck from Star Trek, and you think, well, this definitely looks high tech. Now look at it. I can see a box in my room.
Yeah, and so my wife was there at the time when I was setting it up, and I was like, "Oh my god!" This was like 1 minute into this. Like, oh my god, you've got to see this! You've got to see this! And then 2 minutes later, I did the eye tracking thing. I was like, "Oh my god, you need to see this! It follows your eyeballs around the room. It's amazing."
Did you do the thing where you can like play the musical notes? I did that for far too long. When you're just making your track, and you makes each corner of the screen does a little note. I was like playing "Oh when the saints." No, it's just me.
That was just you.
I'm not gifted enough to have done that.
That was definitely just you.
No, but I was impressed with that. How about you, Alex?
Yeah, see, I completely agree with your point around Sony's boxes of this generation. It's such a letdown. There's no excitement in opening the box. Although I'm a little bit more impressed with this one because it is a more solid box with that kind of flip lid. Because it's quite good for actually just storing it. So sitting it back in, shutting the lid, it's actually quite a sturdier box than just and it does have some nice little symbols round the outside. It's a little bit more. A little bit fancier than anything else we've seen from this generation. So, yeah, it's a box.
It was just a big egg box, wasn't it? It was like a big egg box. You can keep
yeah.
I almost get a sense, that was almost meant for storage. That inside box, because it's very easy to put stuff back in it, and almost like the
Yeah.
sleeve bit with all the marketing gumph on it, you can just chuck that away.
Yeah, I think that is what it's for. I think that inner box is for storage, which is pretty good because you do need somewhere to put it.
Like you've got it right behind you on display to show off. That's
Yeah, it's sitting on top of that. It's sitting on top of that box out the road because I'm more terrified if I leave it sitting about that my son's just going to like put his foot through it.
I cleared underneath my telly. I've got a cupboard, and it was full of old DVDs. It's like I'm never ever going to watch these. Loads of Disney DVDs we picked up over the years for the kids. So it's like, well, Disney Plus is the thing now. We don't need these anymore. I cleared all them out and made space. So it's got its own shelf now. It fits very nicely in. I'll send you a picture later if you like.
Yeah, you should.
Sit
I did a similar thing. I've got a cupboard, like a shelving unit next to my desk here, and a little cupboard underneath that just had. Well, this is like me in a nutshell. I used to have books on top of my shelf, and then the books moved to the cupboard away, and now the books are just stuffed at the back of a wardrobe. With the PSVR is there. And I've also got like a baby safety lock on it now, so that my son can't get in it and throw it around like he does everything else. So
makes sense. Definitely makes sense. I don't have a proper home for it yet. I'm going to need to work one out. I think there is a little bit of. Well, it's fine sitting there just now, but there's probably a little bit of space under my TV that I could put it. I just need a little jiggity pokery and some of the other consoles that are under there.
But the actual like setup process though, I thought was cool. I probably didn't do it in like optimum conditions because as I said, my wife was in the room, and then 5 minutes after that, my brother-in-law came round to stay, and he stays here on a like sofa bed behind me. So it was almost like, does he want to go to bed? Like, am I sat here in this silly hat?
It's like, it's okay, I can't see you.
I can't see you.
I can't see you. You're
fine. Yeah. So that made it all a bit awkward.
I'm not pressing this button so I can see you.
I didn't tell him about that. So yeah, that was a bit like, I felt like it was a bit rushed, and I kind of just gave up after a little while of feeling like an idiot. With them two like looking at me going, "You are an idiot." So I just did,
and I could
did
see
most
why
of it the next day.
It's not the sort of thing you do want to just go and jump. You can't just jump into it. You want to just take your time and feel your way around it and just get to grips with it all, set it up properly, and just ease into a game. And we're very fortunate. We've got lots of games to play, and you just want to pick a few just to jump into. But if someone's in the room with you and making you feel self-conscious, and you don't have the time you need to just focus on it, I can see why that'd be annoying.
Yeah.
But the next night, I had to myself, and I had the time to do it and set it up all properly and felt comfortable doing it, and it was pretty magical, to be honest. Really, just even before you even get into a game. It's just like, wow. When you press that little button, the little function button, and you can look around the room, you're like, oh my God, I'm just seeing my room, but it's in black and white. It's amazing.
It's like when you're I was just going to say, it just felt like you're entering the Matrix. It's like, so when you like look around and scan your room, you're like, like, oh, I don't have enough space. I thought I had more space here than I actually do. Like, but it's fine.
The only annoying thing is that PlayStation needs to have a WhatsApp app now. So when you're in VR, you can just call up your WhatsApp because, like you can on a PC or whatever. Cause you can feel your phone go in your pocket. You think, oh, for fuck's sake. Although you can pass through, you can't read what's on the screen.
You're like
the phone screen just to be like a bright light on the pass through. So you have to take it all off and see what it is, and it's just like your wife saying hi. It's like, fuck off. What's the point of that? I'm busy.
It's like I'm in another reality. Fuck off.
Yeah. I'm trying to escape.
This isn't really important. It's like, next week, do you want the sausages or that's hard now? So that's so integration. We've got Discord, so it's not we could have WhatsApp as well. Maybe, who knows? No, but so the controllers as well. I think they are absolutely magical. I suppose they are like some of my favourite ever controllers. I think I love the fact that you can. I just think they're really comfortable, really intuitive, and just nice to hold. I love that putting your hands into the loops, into the sort of ring shapes of them. I just think they're brilliant.
Yeah, I think once I worked out how to turn them on, they were amazing.
Yeah.
It took you a couple of days, didn't it, Ben?
Well, it was the second day, weirdly, and I went and I had all the time in the world, and I think I was just pressing the start and the capture button instead. I was like, what? I'm holding these down. It's not doing anything. Because obviously you can't see what you're doing when you've got them on. It's like, come on. And then I got really annoyed. And I think I messaged you guys. Like, how'd you turn stupid things on?
I've got a duff one. Yeah, I'm seeing with reports on social media.
2 duff ones. What are the chances? But yeah. But no, they are amazing. They feel, the ergonomics are brilliant. I love the little R1 and L1, where your index finger sits.
Yeah.
Is it index finger? Middle finger, whatever that is. It just works. Yeah, it just all fits perfectly. It's all really natural. It doesn't take you long to kind of get used to the button placement. The cross button and the circle button being on the right hand one, and then triangle and square on the other.
Well, see, I'm
really intuitive.
I still don't know where the buttons are. Like, and I think it's because you don't really need to use them.
No, exactly.
So I'm not used to. I know where the cross button is. That's fine. The rest of them's like a guess still. And
I love the fact we're calling it the cross button, and we definitely don't do that in normal life.
I know.
We always call it the X button. But
I
do.
That's dedication.
But it's branding. Like, assumes the right hand's the dominant hand. You've basically got OK and cancel next to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
On there, so it's OK and cancel, and then on the left hand. Well, all the games I've played seem to be like OK and cancel on the right hand side, and then don't seem to be using square and triangle too much.
I also
have you. Go on.
So I also do like that when you go into pass-through mode, it tells you which one's the right controller and which one's the left controller. A little bit pops up above the top of the controllers to tell you which one's which. That's quite nice.
Yeah, very. I remember the first time I looked down at my desk using pass-through, and they were just lit up, and there's like a little light going around them both, and I was just like, oh my god, this is the future we dreamed of. Incredible.
It's here.
Yeah, and so I've managed to set up my 2x2 playing area. I've had to kind of push it out into the sofa a little bit and over the coffee table a little bit, because even just pushing all the furniture, just moving my coffee table to one side of the room, I still push it out over the sofa a little bit, because I figure you kind of reach out when you're on the boundaries. You're kind of reaching out anyway, so it doesn't matter if I'm using the space above the sofa, and if I bump into it, it's only a sofa. I'm always kind of vaguely aware of where I am in the room anyway, so.
Oh, I'm not.
I'm not.
You just kind of reach out your foot and you think, can I feel a radiator? No, sofa. Okay, that's where I am. Just kind of tentatively.
Yeah, actually,
I've got a rug under my feet as well, and I can kind of feel where the edge of the rug is, so I can orientate myself with that. So
that's a good place marker, isn't it? So I was doing that when I was capturing a bit of stuff on Friday. I've got like one of those sort of thick plastic sheets, so you stop making indentations that you put under your desk, basically. I've got one of those, and I could just feel the edge of it back here, so I know when I'm getting too close to my desk. And I was just like, as I was playing these games, I was just moving my foot around to go, okay, I'm facing the right way still. And
I don't suppose you guys would have noticed it, but because when I'm set up like that, that's fine. But if I want to just sit down and play a game, if I'm sat down, my head would be outside the zone, and it says, "Oh, you don't seem to be in the zone," and it asks, "Do I want to set up a temporary area?" And just there's like a little bubble around you.
Yeah.
Which is when you're seated. That's so convenient, because then when I'm standing up again. It's just, I can revert to the big zone, the standing up, moving around one. But if it's a sitting game and I want to just sit down, that just makes it so easy, and the quality of life stuff there. Like, I've set it all at once, and I haven't had to do it again since. And I'm swapping around to different positions, and everyone in my family's having to go on it and stuff. And it just seems to, remember everything and work fine.
Yeah. No, I think, it does feel like they've kind of thought of everything. I never had experience of the first PSVR, but this does feel like a refined product. It feels like a second or third iteration of something that's been before. It's like, yep, that just works, doesn't feel like a prototype at all. It just feels, like the total package. I think if hardware wise, if we were to get into any sort of negatives at all, I don't know if we're allowed to in this sort of propaganda fest. But I would say I was slightly taken aback by is it Mura or more, however you say it?
Yeah,
the effect that there's a sort of mesh that moves independent of the screen, which I do find a bit off-putting. It's like everything looks great, but there is this sort of slight fuzziness just in front of your eyes, almost like the screen door. The screen door effect, almost. I don't know if they're the same thing, but that probably describes it in a better way. And I did find that a bit like, oh, it's not just like, because I think my expectations were maybe too high, that it would just be like 4K blasted into your eyes, it's crisp, and you won't be able to see any issues whatsoever. And it was it did take me back a little bit, but I have found, if any listeners are having that issue themselves, dropping the brightness down, because I think the default is 100%. If you drop that down to about 70%, it does reduce that significantly, that effect.
Okay, I might give that a go.
Because it's right there in front of your eyeballs, you don't really need the brightness anyway. There's no light creeping in because the headset is pretty flush. Like, you put it on and it's pitch black. So I would say that as a pro tip.
And that's definitely the first PSVR one. There was so much light you could see below. Didn't have that same thing just blocking out the light like this one does, and it does a fantastic job of it. Like, almost too good, really.
Yeah,
but I'll give that a go, because there was a bit in Moss where I've just been playing that last night, and you go to these kind of cutscene reading a book bit, and then it skips into the game, and the screen floods with white light, and I said, Jesus Christ, I had to close my eyes.
Yeah.
Fuck, what are you doing? There's no need for it to be this bright. So whenever that happens, and I kind of know when it's about to happen, because you feel the cutscene winding up, so I was like, close my eyes, just because you just think, God, what are you doing to me? He's going to burn on.
There's that bit, just going back to the initial setup, when you're when it's tracking your eyes.
And
the little red ball. Initially, you're following a red ball on a black screen, and you're like, okay, this is easy. And then it stops, and then the screen just goes bright white. You're like, my God, my eyes are singeing. And then you do the same thing against the white.
And I like my light modes, but this is crazy.
It's in dark mode all the time.
Yeah, for you dark mode people, it must have been a killer.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we've got anything else to say about the hardware, but you mentioned Moss there. That's one I haven't jumped into yet. I'm keen to know just
Moss
a bit more if we're going to do any little initial game chat.
We've got reviews for games we're going to be doing rolling out over the coming weeks. But so far, I've played Moss, Kayak VR, Horizon, Cosmonius High, and GT7 and Demeo. So actually loads, Christ. I feel like I'm barely scratching the surface still as well. It's frustrating because after about an hour, I only want to play it for kind of an hour. I think when we played Demeo, we were pushing kind of an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I definitely felt like that was enough. Still want to be using these screens strapped to my eyeballs. So it's like, I just really want to binge on this thing, but I can't, just because I have normal life and kids and stuff. And it just, I'm playing short bursts. But yes, Moss played last night. Oh, so good. And this is where people say, it's just a load of Quest and old PSVR1 ports. I'm like, that's fine. Give me the best of those libraries and bring them across to this, because this is the first VR. We are the VR virgins. It's all the best of it, and there's so much more stuff that's now locked on PSVR1 that I hope they bring across. I forget the names of all of it now, but there's tons of stuff that I want to put across. But Moss is just absolutely fantastic.
It's just lovely.
To look into a really fun little platformer. I was talking to my son about it. I was just like, imagine playing Mario, but you could just sort of reach in and just move the platforms for Mario, or you can just like pick up a Goomba and put him where you want him to be and stuff, and just help Mario out a bit. It's just so clever and inventive and fun.
Because I think when you just see Quill come in for the first time, and he's this tiny little mouse, she's just this cute tiny little mouse, and you're like, oh, and you just want to pick her up, and you can't at that point. I don't know whether you can later on, but
spoilers.
It's just
no point in playing it now.
No, it's just. Well, I said I don't know if you can. I didn't say you can. I said I don't know if you can.
When she dies as well, she does the most pitiful little squeak, and it just makes you feel like such a terrible person.
But it's just it's beautiful. Like, that's probably the best thing you can say. Like, it is just, you see this book open up, and then you go into it for the first time, and you're like, oh, I can see why people like this. Can really see why people like this. And it was the first game I noticed the haptic feedback in the headset. So a bird flew past my head, and I felt it like go past my head. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
So you're like this kind of god figure that's looking down in this magical enchanted forest, basically. So it's just absolutely beautiful and stunning. And there's your Moss is running through these old ruins and temples, and around the scene of a battlefield where there's all these suits of armor that you can run through and stuff. It's just so I kept stopping to take pictures playing it. It took me ages to get through anything. I just kept taking pictures of things, which is really hard to do in VR, I've learned.
You just hold down the button.
Well, yeah, but they look rubbish. That's what I'm saying. That you have to kind of hold your head at the right angle so that the camera's kind of composed. There's no photo mode that you can just move to get a good composition. You have to position your head in the right place. So yeah, Moss, big fan of that. Any initial games that you two have been playing that have really stood out?
I mean, we need to speak about Horizon, obviously.
Of course.
I assume that's the first game we all played.
Yeah, it was the first game I played, and I've never. It's funny because on Crosscast this week we talked about our WoW moments, and that is my biggest WoW moment ever in a game. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating. The hairs on my arm were sat on end. Like, it was properly like, oh my word, this is incredible. Like, I think to experience, and obviously I have very, very briefly experienced VR before, but nothing like this. And when you open up, and this is not a spoiler, you open up and you're on a boat and you're in the world and you're just like, you just spend so much time. You're like, oh my God, I can turn around and look behind myself. Oh, like, and it's like, it's the 360. Oh, and you're like, you just keep noticing things and you keep looking and it gets better and better. And you're like, yeah, this is what I wanted. And I think within like that 30 seconds, you're like, yeah, not disappointed. All my concerns are gone. Like, yeah, here we go.
Yeah, it's
Even the title screen. When I first got to the title screen, and you can look around that, and I was just like, "Oh my God, this is just the title screen. And this is blowing my tiny mind."
I'm picking the menu items with my eyes. Like, what? No, this isn't right. No.
Witchcraft.
Yeah.
And as a showcase, because I love it, and this again comes back to the controllers, where if you want to look at your health, you just kind of look down at your wrist and you can twist your arm around and you can select the different bows you've got kind of off your wrist. And it's that kind of the intuitiveness where you interact with the controller, the hardware and the software, and just because you know kind of you can open your palm and you can see things. Demeo did that really well as well when you're kind of selecting cards out of your hand and stuff. It's just
that was cool.
Nice to turn the controller over and access a menu that way.
Yeah,
God, that's so
clever.
cool.
It's like stuff like that. Yeah, you don't even think about that in a normal 2D game, being able to do stuff like that, obviously. But like, yeah, as Alex said, as an intro to VR, it was pretty breathtaking. Like, and when you see how you can interact with the world, like it. I mean, it seems silly and tech demo-y, but I spent so long just picking stuff up and lobbing it, and or trying to like throw things in the air and catch it again. Yeah, or eating an apple and literally just instinctively just going as I'm like holding this pretend apple to my face.
That's when your wife's like, "Oh, time to leave him."
It's like,
exactly. Just
what is he doing?
If I throw this, will it break? Like,
yeah. And did you find the? I don't know if I want to say because I'm not actually going to say because it's just one of those nice little Easter egg kind of things. But like the bow and arrow,
that's so cool.
It just, I mean, I could just stand there shooting targets all day. It's so satisfying to do. It's brilliant, really good. And I thought the kind of the features for sort of bedding in noobs were quite generous as well. Like, so I chose like comfort mode, and then it's got this vignette that comes in at certain points to stop, presumably to prevent motion sickness, which did initially was like felt quite intrusive, but I assume it's just so you're not too overwhelmed with the field of vision and you can just
now I know that's what it's there for, because I asked people on Twitter, I was like, what is this effect? And they explained that that's the vignettes, that's what it's for. Because I was like, how do I turn this off, or why is it doing this? Am I doing this? What am I pressing? Well, I couldn't understand what it was for, but no, it's a comfort setting. I'll just think, oh, okay, I'll leave it on. Although so that game is, you can move by you hold down the buttons and you kind of wave your arms around like a prat. I didn't mind that, but it's the moving backwards I couldn't get to grips with. And then when I started doing some combat, the strafing from side to side and dodging, I just did not like at all. So I've switched the controls just to regular controls, because fortunately I've played quite a few games now and haven't had any hint of motion sickness or anything. So I'm still being quite kind of cautious and being sensible, and I've switched it to just free walking, but it's very slow walking speed still. And my brain does feel a moment when sort of start walking, it's like, you kind of feel like you kind of expecting something to kick in. It's like the feeling is that when you ever go on the underground, Ben, where the escalators aren't running and you have to walk up a station and you step onto it and your body's expecting it to pick you up.
Yeah,
and
it's just like,
and it doesn't. Yeah. And it's that
Every
moment
time.
of like, ugh. And that's what it feels like. And like the first, for a second, it's ugh, and then it's like, okay, it's fine now. We're in VR and we get on with it. We, as in me and my brain. So I think I'm just hoping that it's going to be okay from a motion sickness point of view. So anyone that's worried about VR, and I'm a complete newcomer to it, and I've not had any problems at all. I know Ben, you've had a bit more tentative steps.
I would say I've probably suffered most with the motion sickness side of it. But I started off Horizon with the stick control, and it was absolutely fine. Like I haven't had any motion sickness at all with that. I think the only two games, well, I've noticed it in 3 games, but 2 in particular. So when I first started GT7, which was the game that sold me on, I'd played a fair bit of the game anyway. I'm probably like 3/4 of the way through the main sort of campaign or the menu. So I'm obviously on quite fast cars. And so I was like, okay, I'll just do this next level that I'm on in a really fast car in an intense race with like 16 people around me. And I couldn't finish a lap. I got about halfway through the first lap and I was like, oh, this feels weird, because it is that GT7 experience. You start off, you're like, okay, 2D menu, fine, 2D, okay. Go into a race, the little cutscene beforehand where it pans around your car, that's all 2D. And then as soon as the race starts, and the world just opens up around you, really, really it is amazing, but it really threw me off, and just playing tricks on my body. Like, I think my brain thinks we're going that fast, but my body's completely still. And maybe I just need to throw myself around like as I'm playing it.
Nah, you'll get the hang of it. It's fine.
Yeah.
That game, if you still want to enjoy part of the VR stuff without actually doing races, do the VR showroom thing and just pick one of your cool cars and you can park it up. I've done it in front of the cafe, and you can walk around outside the car in the middle of the forest outside the cafe, and you can get in the car, and just that on its own is amazing. That's so cool. And
another tip, if anyone is feeling that in particular, it was Mick in Discord, wasn't it?
Yeah,
was having that same problem. So what I've done is I've gone back to the very first license tests. So the one where you're in a really slow little car and you just have to stop and start. So there's no turning. You just literally have to drive 60 miles an hour and then stop. So I did that initially, and then did the next one and kind of worked my way. Okay, we'll do one with the corner. And now I had a go on it today, and I was driving a much faster car and just getting used to it again. So I think you can train yourself. It's not like, I get motion sickness, that's the end of it, I can't use this thing. It is something that you train your brain and your body to deal with. So I'm getting there with that. I feel like I'll be able to handle GT7 quite soon.
And I probably started the opposite way from you, Ben. So I did start on the licenses. So I thought, right, I'm going to go in and I'm going to start on the licenses, because that's what I had been doing, and it was fine. And then I did 2 races this afternoon, and it was totally fine. And it wasn't in the fastest car, but it was like in a Mustang, so it's not like I was in a slow car, and it was kind of skidding around, and it was like, ooh. But yeah, so it was fine. And then I tried it with my steering wheel. I thought, right, let's go in, get the whole experience, get the steering wheel out, give it a go. And I'm like, see, because I've never really used the steering wheel in the racing game, it was just too difficult. So I think I need to get used to one and the other before I can combine the two of them, because it's just not quite there yet. But I will, get that full experience. But the weirdest thing when I was using the steering wheel, and I tried it with the controller first before I tried the steering wheel. And when I was using the controller, I didn't notice the arms on the car. I noticed bits on the inside of the car and stuff. Yeah. When I was using the steering wheel, I thought it was my arms, it was so immersive. I really thought they were my arms on the steering wheel, and with legs and stuff. It was so weird. But it was good. It is incredible. I started that off, and as you say, the 2D menus and all the way it starts off, because I went into the game like, how do I turn on VR mode? Where's the text? Where's the options? And then I'm like, right, I'm just going to try and do a race anyway. And then it just, that moment where it just kicks in, you're like, oh fuck. Here we go, and it's so impressive.
It is
So,
impressive.
Alex, is there any other game, Alex, that has really shocked you?
Um,
That you've played?
Drums Rock was amazing. Like, I genuinely felt like I was a drummer. Like, you sat down and it just you kind of go through the opening screen and it says, right, do you want to start the campaign, start a track? But even when you come into the menu, it just sets you need to play it seated, and as soon as you get into like the kind of opening like menus and stuff and media stuff, you're just sitting in front of a drum kit. And it's just, and that's where you are the whole time. And then you put your hands over your shoulders and use that little button you're talking about, Ben, the R1 and the L1 with your middle finger to like grab onto the drumsticks. And then you need to hit the drumsticks together to start off the track, and then that's you're going, and it's just so cool. You just feel yourself dancing along. You genuinely think you've got drumsticks in your hand, and you genuinely think that you're hitting something because of the feedback on it, and it's so much fun.
So I guess listening to you both talk then, when we're talking about what VR gaming in general is like then, you've said it's like you're a drummer, and you've been talking about it's like you're driving in the car, and with a kayak game, you are paddling a kayak around the Norwegian fjords. It's incredible. You say John Wick when you're playing Pistol Whip. It's like you're in a John Wick on, and that's it's so different to regular gaming for me, and it's not. I wouldn't ever say it's replacing it, because a normal game is a completely different experience. But the things you can do in VR and how it makes you feel and the fun it gives you, the sort of fun that it is completely different. And it's that ability to put you in a situation, a scenario, and that wish fulfillment. It's like, I'm never going to learn to be a drummer. It takes too much time and effort, and I'm just not so inclined. I'm not musical. But this lets me feel like I'm a drummer. It lets me feel what it's be like to be a drummer, or this is lets me feel like what it's like to go kayaking around Australia, or driving a Formula One car around Brands Hatch, or whatever it is. And there's just so many things that we've got, and some experiences coming up on the horizon. That I think I'm so excited. I'm quite surprised at like the broad range of experiences, and it does feel like each one ticks a different box. So like you mentioned Pistol Whip there, and we'll have a review for that and a review for Drums Rock coming up very soon on the channel. But I didn't know anything about Pistol Whip. I think you basically said, right, you take this one because this is a game. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a go. Oh my god, it's amazing. Like, it's just like, for someone that grew up loving light gun games like Virtua Cop, it's just like that, but on steroids. It's just, fantastic. And then throw in like the rhythm element to it and just banging soundtrack. It's like, incredible. But Tetris Effect as well.
Oh wow!
It's like, it's a game that I've played through the whole journey mode on Switch, and I really loved it there. But this is like emotional. Like, I think it's probably the most emotional I've got playing a game. I just genuinely felt like this kind of like, this euphoria playing it. And it's really hard to explain without plonking a headset on somebody else and going, right, just let yourself go in this bloody Tetris game. But it's just the combination of the visuals and the music and just being completely surrounded by it all. It is, it feels next gen in a way that the PS5 and the Xbox Series don't.
Yeah.
This feels like what the next gen is in a way.
And I messaged you the other day, didn't I, that this is probably the most excited I've been about games since the Switch launch. Yeah. And when I was thinking about that, the Switch, when that came out, this is something new. This is home console games on the go. This is a whole new thing, and it's that hybrid feel, popping off and playing multiplayer whenever you are, and it's just opening up these new experiences. And it did, and it had a whole generation of doing really fun things. And the PS5, don't get me wrong, I love the PS5, but the games, as I said last time, they're just the same games that you played before. But now this is a whole new category and type of game that I've not been able to have access to before. And fair play, everyone that's got the Quest and stuff, and it's like great, now we can join in.
To the same extent, I almost feel like, see something like Drums Rock, it's like taking it back. It's like you could be sitting there playing Rock Band or something again, but you don't need all the shite in front of you. You've just got a headset. Like, it's kind of opening up even more of those experiences and stuff you maybe enjoyed in the past. Like, there's another game that's like guitars, and you obviously like a Guitar Hero type thing and all that stuff. And I think, as you said, the broad variety of games and experiences you get. Like, I was also playing Zombieland Double Tap, and even just the fun of, to reload that, you flicked down on the right thumbstick, put the gun down, flicked on your clip, and then you started shooting again. And like, just that motion is just quite fun. And then I can see once all of us start playing that, there's like leaderboards in every level, and it's like who can get to it the fastest. And then there's like just a shooting range, and it's just targets, and the targets pop up, and it's all about hitting the right times and scores. And like, there's so much variety to those games that are so simple. Like, a level in Zombieland is maybe you're aiming to do it in under 2 minutes, so it's not like you're in there for hours. It's like a couple of minutes to go and like get going in it, and you can jump in and out of games. And it's just, as you say, you're not going to sit here for 5 hours of this on your head, but half an hour here and there is enough. And the games are structured enough that half an hour it doesn't feel like you've done nothing. You can achieve quite a lot in these games in half an hour.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it gets back to what Laurie was saying about the Switch. Like, I almost feel like, obviously the three of us are parents, I feel like this fits into parental responsibilities in a different way to how the Switch did. But this is like, well, I can't physically play this for more than an hour, really, tops. Like, you almost don't want to be that shut off from the world. But like, it's a little like, okay, you know, I've got half an hour to myself. I'll plonk this thing on and just get lost in a world. And then, do you know what? Like today, Gran Turismo, I had, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes to myself. Had a little go at that and just thought, all right, that's enough time to probably get this trophy. So I just did a few challenges that then got the trophy. And I was like,
you were hunting trophies, Ben?
Come on, I'm fully into the walled garden now.
VR.
Yeah, so it's I think it's quite a convenient thing as well, in a weird way, because it's almost less convenient to put that thing on your head. Find the sweet spot, which is my other little niggle.
Yes,
is I do find and I know you guys haven't struggled with this quite as much, but finding the focus in the lens to actually see everything clearly, I find it a little bit of a struggle to get right. I'm getting the hang of it gradually.
See, I can't get my head around this, because literally my son will be using it, I'll pop it off his head, or my wife will use it, I'll pop it straight on my head, and it's fine, like, every time straight away, and I just tighten the thing up. And I can't get my head around how it's so easy for me, and yet you're finding it so hard.
Yeah.
It just so...
And I'm probably in between the two.
Yeah, I think you are. Yeah. I think I'm maybe being overly sort of critical of it. You know, like when you sort of stare at something for too long, you're like, no, something not right here. I'm like that with the home menu. I'll be kind of, is that clear?
Yeah.
I'll sort of squint and I'll adjust the scope bit, and I think I'm getting too carried away. If I just put it on, like I did tonight, plonked it straight on, went straight into pistol whip, passed it to my wife, she had a quick go, put it back again, it's all fine. It's those little, I think it was when we played Demeo, and we will, again, that's another one we'll be reviewing. Demeo, however you want to say it. And it was like, you guys were zooming right in and seeing all these characters with real clarity. And it was frustrating me that I couldn't do that. It was like, it still looks a bit grainy to me. And I don't know if it's just me being fussy, or if it's, I have booked an eye test a week tomorrow. So that could just be that. You know, we're not getting any younger. But, yeah, but that's, I think that and the very slight motion sickness in a couple of games has been my only real bugbear so far.
I've not had as many issues finding that sweet spot, but what I realised earlier tonight when I was putting on, I kept thinking it was an up-down issue, and actually I was had it either slightly to the left or slightly to the right. I had turn. It wasn't that I didn't have it far enough down or far enough up. It was sitting at a very slight angle on my head, and it had to twist it round ever so slightly. Which I was quite surprised at, because I'm like, why was that? But because it does such a good job of that kind of rubber outer kind of fitting round your eyes, you don't maybe notice if it's slightly off. But you can definitely find it, and I've been using it with my glasses on constantly. So when I use this, and I have hit the lenses with my glasses a couple of times, which trying to make sure I don't. But I've not had, even with the glasses on, I've not had a lot of light bleed or anything like that. There's going to be a very tiny amount, but far less than I expected, which has been good.
One thing I want to just talk about is with Horizon, and the interesting how this can complement conventional games. And this is kind of Sony's USP, really, and this is why I think they need to really double down on making games with their IP, because it's all well and good having this really powerful headset that's got the tether on it that you have to be plugged into the PS5 to leverage the power from it. If they do just have lots of Quest ports, and that's obviously going to undermine the whole system, really. So to really justify why someone should spend more money than a Quest and put up with having a wire connected into the headset to the console, is they need to have more things like Horizon. So I hope they do reveal stuff, but just things with that PlayStation IP, just to bring their life, their worlds, which people love. People love God of War and Last of Us, obviously, especially at the moment. And if you could experience those in VR, and I'm just finding with Horizon Forbidden West, great game, I loved it. But there's so many settlements you go to in there, and I can't remember any of them. And it's just, you are like a sort of skimming stone, just going from one settlement, bouncing off the world to the next one. And the bits in between settlements is just kind of, you don't pay any attention to. You're just pushing forward and running to the next directional marker. And when you're in the places, it's nice. You see them, and you think, oh, this is quite a cool town. But in VR, and this is only Dawn's grasp, the little kind of hub, it's not even a town, it's just a tiny little settlement. But I feel like I've so much more richness and that feels like such a more real place to me. It's like, rather than sort of skimming off the surface, you're just really diving into these places and seeing them really fleshed out, and you can hear the birds and the wind and talk to people, and it just brings these worlds to life, so that it takes worlds that you already know and love and just makes them feel so much more real. And that is something that only Sony can do with their worlds, and the fact they've got these quite story heavy, very these IP now, which has got such a strong sense of place and worlds, like in Ragnarok and The Last of Us. If they can create these worlds in VR, that's just going to be so magical over the next few years.
Yep, going around on a dog sled, chucking your axe at people. Amazing.
I mean, throwing that Leviathan axe in VR would be immense.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Atreus has a bow and arrow, just saying.
Yep. I mean, yeah, I almost spoiled the end of Ragnarok there. How shocking.
Yes, let's not do that, Ben.
No.
Save that for that spoiler cast.
Yeah, I feel like if they did spin-offs in these big IP, a lot of people get annoyed, because if they don't want to play VR, they'll be like, well, I'm not going to get this part of the story. So I don't feel like they'll do it like integral. Like Horizon works really well because Aloy is in it, but if you don't play it, if you're a big Horizon fan but you don't like VR, you are not missing out on anything in the sort of main Horizon adventure other than some cameos from Aloy.
And on the flip side, if you don't like Horizon, like me, you can still enjoy Call of the Mountain.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, so I think that's smart. I think it's not so much the plot of the main games and the characters, it's just take those worlds and just make me feel, make them come to life in VR.
Amen.
Cool. Well, I think just before we wrap up, let's go. We've got some questions in. We actually asked if people have got any questions they wanted to ask. And Alex, I think you've compiled some of them.
I think the only actual question we got came from our very own Lewis. And he was asking how comfortable it was to wear headphones with the headset. Obviously it comes with the earbuds, which I think that's what I was using initially, but I have found I've been using the Pulse headset and it's been totally fine. Fits over the side of it perfectly. No issues at all. I think you've been doing the same, Laurie, haven't you?
Yeah, I took the earbuds. I disconnected them from the headset and just put them in a drawer because I was like, I'm never going to use them. It annoyed me having them dangling and having them poking out the side. It was just more faff on it, so I just sort of bin them off and I just used the Pulse headset, which is just much more comfortable. Sounds better.
Fits fine.
To wear. Fits fine. The only thing, I can just forget that I'm wearing. I go to set the headset off first. I'm like, oh no, earphones first, and then again, having the pass through, so I can find the controllers and then the headset. It is a rigmarole when you have you see all the peripherals laid out in front of you, and you think I'm such a dork. All this stuff.
Yeah, well, for that reason, I've stuck with the earbuds, and from a semi-audiophile perspective, I've been reasonably impressed with the sound quality. And just the convenience of just having them right there, popping them out of their little holders and then putting them in your ears. I'm quite happy with those. I have tried the DualSense as well. not the DualSense, the Pulse 3D headset, and that works, really well. There's no it just sits really nicely underneath the band of the headset, so no concerns there. And I think from what I've seen, a bunch of other headsets work perfectly well as well. So Lewis, if you are thinking of getting one, don't let that deter you. Of all things, let loads of other stuff deter you, but not that. That's ridiculous. Yeah, all good. Any other feedback or comments or anything, Alex? Or are we done?
We did have some comments which I just had and have now lost. So if you just bear with me a second. Phil.
Oh, who's Phil?
Found it. Sorry. So I did ask people's first impressions. So we did have from Craig at Pure Dead Gaming. He said he's loving it. His highlight so far is coming from Quest 2 is the enhanced graphics. You just couldn't get visuals like GT7, Kayak VR, Mirage, and Call of the Mountain in Meta's portable headset. The charging stand is a worthwhile purchase on its own. I'm just going to clarify some comments I've made in the charging stand in the past. So I did have some issues getting the controllers into the stand. Turns out I didn't have the stand sitting flat. I had it sitting on its front, so I didn't. It was sitting at an angle.
User error.
Yeah, so it should be the hole should be on the bottom, whereas it will sit slightly so that the hole is kind of pointing towards the back because there's two flat surfaces on it. So I had it almost up at an angle. But if you lie it flat on the table, likely as it is designed to be with a hole on the desk, then it sits in a bit more nicely.
I feel like Laurie's looking at us like, so one of them couldn't turn a fucking controller on. The other one can't lay something flat.
Yeah, you put it on the desk and that's it.
But it does have two flat surfaces, so it does sit at that almost probably about a 30-degree angle quite nicely as well, the way the PlayStation symbol sits on it. But it should sit black surface to the bottom with a hole basically on the desk, and it sits in a bit nicer. So that was user error. Still not perfect though.
Beyond putting it upside down, I'm not sure how you can get it wrong, but I'm going to go look to see.
Well, actually, if you've got it sitting right, just tilt it forward a wee bit and it'll still sit nicely.
The tip is, if you just kind of put the triggers in first and then just put them down, you can't go wrong really. Just put the trigger first in. I think it's really cool because you can sort of stick your hands in, you can pick them both up at the same time, and just like you're taking guns out of a holster. It's you feel really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I am for any other listeners who are contemplating getting that, I'm surviving perfectly well without the charging stand. However, it is slightly annoying having two cables just dangling at all times.
It's nice just to have somewhere to put them.
More neat. Yeah.
More than anything. Although if you ever lost, so they come the two little bits that connect into the USB-C slots in them. If you ever lost them, that's going to be a bollock. Why you'd ever take them out now, I don't know. But I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I wouldn't take them out, but I could see my kids going, "Oh, what's this thing? I'm going to pull this out and eat it or something," because they're little bastards. So yeah, that does make me worried. Why it couldn't just connect? Why did they didn't make the connectors make that in the dock? I don't understand.
Yeah, it seems weird why they wouldn't just have USB-C bits that it plugged into. But anyway, so another couple of comments we had from Manthea. While I enjoy the experience, I'm still trying to find the right position of the VR headset in my head. It keeps slipping down, changing the focus point, and they wear glasses. So I says, well, I've said I wear glasses as well, and I have been managing to do it and find it. So there is hope. You will get there. It's just, and it seems like the consensus is it just takes a little bit of time. It's like one of these things, if you're not used to this, you're not going to find it perfectly every time, all the time, but you will get more used to what you need to adjust and what is the right fit for you.
And it's the same with the motion sickness thing, right? It is almost like just repetition, baby steps, and you do find that sweet spot eventually.
Yeah. And then one last comment we had from Tony Sibley. He says he's loving it. Went back to Pistol Whip, which was always hard to play with first PSVR tracking, but now chef's kiss. Everything's improved. Love it.
And that is, for me, we're talking about all these great experiences, and it's doing it. The fidelity is such that it makes it feel so seamless. That's not a barrier anymore.
Yeah,
which is good.
Incredible.
I can't wait. We've got so much stuff to play, and you guys are playing stuff that I'm like, I'm going to have to pick that up as well now because Pistol Whip especially sounds.
That's Pistol Whip's the one everyone is going on about Pistol Whip, and I'm like, I'm just going to need to buy it. Like it's just I need to.
I think there is enough stuff already out that I could happily play this for years. I think just playing it. I think Horizon on its own is going to take me a few weeks, just that one game. There's so much stuff to play. I'm so excited to get stuck in with it all. So maybe I'm going to go do that now. So that's well, seems like a good note to end on. So everyone, thanks again for listening. If you fancy getting a bit more involved with all of us, and we'd love to hear from you. So we've got a new channel on our Discord just for PSVR2. So please do join our Discord and join in the chat there. It's great if you've played something that you got all excited by and you want to share and you want to share your enthusiasm and love for it. Please do jump in and just let us know about it, because we want to hear that. That's what we're all about. If you're looking for people to hang out with, talk about VR, maybe even arrange a game with Demeo with, please do swing by. And also email us with any suggestions you've got, things we should be playing or things you've enjoyed at crossbuttonvr@gmail.com. And last but absolutely not least, big thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the work we do, and apologies for having to put up with Max in the WhatsApp group. I have been your host, Laurie. These two have been Ben and Alex, and we will see you again next time with hopefully our first batch of reviews for the games we have been playing. Until then, goodbye.